Hello, lady. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and other blokes, whoever who is watching somehow. I am Trisky, your not so humble DM. I am simultaneously painting miniatures because I can't stop. Help me, please. I am addicted to plastic crack. And joining me are a bunch of chucklefucks as we are about to do another session of our Pathfinder campaign, The Monsters of Morgram. Joining me are Runt, played by Penguin Vagabond.
Howdy.
We have Chaise, played by the lovely Magnifical.
Hello.
We have, as of right now, known as Reginald, but really known as Scourge, or Fester, sorry, played by Scourge.
Hello.
Yeah, your two names are pretty close. And last but not least, we have Zephyr, who is played by Ken.
Hello.
And we are still in the Castle of Time, as it is just for sake of brevity known, which is this strange castle surrounded by a moat in the middle of the time plane that they got teleported to, that up until recently has been shifting back and forth in time every single time any member of the party passes through the threshold of a door. However, they have recently learned that these strange, eternally burning torches that they have the ability to adjust these sundials in the main lobby of the building, and by doing so, they can lock time in a certain place in a time period, allowing them to continue traversing between rooms, but not like changing back and forward in time every single time they do so. They didn't get to explore very much after that in our last session because we had to end off, but for today we are back with everyone here, and I would like to know what y'all are up to. What are you thinking of doing?
Eternal torches to line up the sundial. Okay. Let's see. Why can't I zoom in?
Because the game does not wish to let you. Foundry has a problem with that, apparently. I couldn't tell you for the life of me.
I must zoom in with my own face.
Just swoosh on in.
Swoosh. Also shut up, but swoosh.
I think.
Whatever you say, you're the sheriff. Okay, I'm done.
God damn it.
Boy, am I glad that he's dead on the throne and we're alive here, and that he's the sheriff.
The 40k parody.
What I want to know
Skooks
is
is amazing.
Yeah.
Skooks is amazing. If you've never seen it, go watch it instead of this bullshit. Anyway. So, Runt was, just for the sake of clarity, wandering off sort of aimlessly last session because he was not physically here in person. And so you, all of a sudden, are in one of the rooms when, out of nowhere, time shifts to the present, whether or not you're in the present at that time. And so you re-emerge just about here. You have yourself muted, Penguin. I'm not sure if you were trying to talk.
I was like, what? Looking a little bit perplexed as to what just happened.
Mon ami, you are here.
Wait, what?
Hello, Runt.
Yes, hello, there you are. Wondering
Oh,
where you
hello.
were.
what time were you in before you got here?
Yeah.
You can just say whatever. It doesn't really matter too much. He's just like not scratching his head and just like, interesting. It seems to have all dragged every single occupant here to the same time, whether we were prepared or not. We figured out something about these eternal torches that Reginald has found. It does appear that they are able to adjust the sundials in the main lobby and force a change in time, but I do recommend not trying to do them individually one at a time unless you want to hurt.
Oh. Wait, what happened?
They give us psychic feedback whenever they are aligned separately, so they have to be done in sync, thusly requiring two of us to be operating the torches and moving them at the same time.
Oh, I see.
But, with that in mind, we haven't exactly explored everything possible here, I don't believe. There is a room upstairs that I have not entered yet. Would anyone care to come along?
Sure.
Of course.
Rental.
I'll check it out. Maybe they have a higher ceiling.
Yes, I suppose I'll go along with you.
Alright, give me 1 second to schwabush over. Oh no, I moved you inside one another. Oops.
In my head, it's kind of like, oh, at random times when like the players in here, their character just like poofs to a different time period somehow. It's just like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I'm here by myself. Great.
Oh no. But yeah, he leads along and heads on upstairs and just like steps on into the hallway here, looking around, and he's just like, oh yes, it was this door. Just in case there is something to worry about, I would send back. I do not know if there's entire places relatively safe, per se. And with that, he opens the door and gazes on inside. He's just like, oh. Well, this isn't a good picture.
Where do you go off to?
He went into the hallway and the first door on the right. Not that room, that's the one on your left. Laurent doesn't know his directions.
Ren's going in here to look. He hasn't been in this room yet.
Fair enough. You come into... So, Run, you come into a room filled with empty chests and a door that's been ripped off its hinges and knocked down onto the ground. Considering the rest of the destruction, it is only safe to assume that some plundering has been done.
Someone's been here.
Up here appears to be some form of prison room. There are numerous cells, but some of them appear to be opened. And the ones that are locked don't appear to have anything in them of value. Just some littered rags. No bloodshed here, that's very interesting. But I have not much else to say. I am going to do some thinking around here and see if I can figure out something. I will rejoin you all in a short while. And with that, he seems to be looking about in this room and inspecting everything pretty closely, getting lost in thought.
Can't really get into the room. Keep saying that it's like colliding with a wall.
Did it decide to do another wall by accident? Oh. Yeah, so I will just remove this one then. There was technically a wall on the door of the cage, but that was it.
There we are.
Yeah, now you should just be able to go in. Yep. As you see, when you enter Fester, all of the cages appear to be. Oh, well, many of them are open. There are about 2 that are not, but the entire place appears to just have been, prison broken.
Very interesting.
There. I forgot to make them all not restrict sight because they are cages, so you can see pretty well through them.
So, with the 2 that aren't open, is there anything in them?
No, he had noted that neither of the cells that were locked happened to have anything in them, so you're assuming that's why they weren't busted open. There is no sign of bloodshed nor any corpses lying about, but overall it's just normal. Cages are busted open, no real signs except for like scraps of fabric and such from tattered attire strewn about. Runt, meanwhile, wanders into the forge room, which the fire over in the corner there does no longer exist, as it has been turned into some of the eternal flames that the party possesses now. There is a scene of death of what was probably the blacksmith himself, and otherwise the room is not really much touched.
Okay. Other than, I'll just look around, see if there's anything that they might have missed.
Would you like to do a check of some sort for me? A perception?
Sure.
Mr. 9 billion perception. That is 6 plus 14, a 20, an unnatural 20. All right. You wander about inside of this room, looking here and there, just wondering what if there was anything that they missed. And it doesn't appear that there was too much that they missed. There are some bits of, like metal that seem like they would be valuable for like blacksmithing or other forging reasons that you could collect if you wanted to. And there are some rudimentary weapons like daggers and swords lying about, but that is about it. Nothing enchanted or anything of the sort.
Okay. Well, I mean, better not let these things just go to waste, you know?
Stuff them in your bag.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that in mind, Zephyr, what are you up to?
Zephyr, now that Ken got his microphone properly plugged back in again, is going to drift over to this doorway here.
You peer inside, and it's pretty easy to understand what you're seeing. You are looking into some form of kitchen with some minorly ransacked thing of flour, but otherwise nothing of much note. The flame over in that oven there was also turned into a couple eternal flames. So you have a total of 4 torches that I believe is a mix of Reginald and the rest of them are carrying in some capacity. Forget who had which.
Won't happen once I let someone who can carry them well know.
Yeah, Zephyr is definitely not carrying any of them.
But she will, with a push of her talons, try to open the door and
Oh, the door's
hover a
already
little
open.
further inside. Oh, fair enough. She will just hover on in then. And see, now that she's in the room, is there anything more interesting she could potentially or anything else interesting she could potentially peek at?
Roll me a perception.
$18.
All right, an 18. So, looking about here, the food all seems edible, so if you're hungry, you can definitely use some of that. It seems to just be like carrots, cabbage, and some strange blue form of sausage. Your instincts tell you that looks weird, but it's edible. And not poisonous, somehow.
Seeing that Runt's bread seems to have gone down all right so far, she will help herself to some sausage while she continues just roaming around for a minute.
I just imagine her, like, trying to hold a pair of a set of sausage links in between her, like, wings, just pressed as tightly against each other as possible as she steps around.
She might start trying that, but I think she might settle for impaling the sausage on one talon and trying to just like hold it up to her mouth
Fair enough.
while awkwardly just perched on a counter.
Yep. The rest of this seems, I mean, from what you've vaguely seen while in some of the Longshank towns, you have a reason to believe that this is a pretty normal cooking setup, though maybe slightly on the higher end or just better quality. You're unsure. But other than the food laying around and such, there is nothing else of much note.
She's gonna swoosh on over to the brig and let Reginald know first because she remembers that he mentioned looking for a kitchen last session. Well, found a kitchen. There's a bit of food left and some more of those torches.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Zephyr. Myself and Morasmus found that time ago, but thank you for keeping me in mind.
It's no trouble.
Just slurps down another sausage.
Yeah, I bet still just has like most of the second link on another talent. Just like, all right. Swooses back out.
Chaise, anything in particular you're up to?
I guess, probably gonna go through, I'm not quite sure. I guess I'll just, do some basic investigation of, some rooms. Maybe see if there are some more torches or something.
Yeah, looking about this room, you did spend a decent chunk of time with Morasmus stuck in this room in the current time. But the door next to you is unlocked. The other one you'd never unlocked, but you could very easily unlock it from the inside.
Go.
You'd have to go around and unlock it from the inside, but assuming...
Okay.
So when you and Merasmus were in this room, you ran into the same dilemma that you had earlier with the compass, where you could see symbols and had no idea what they meant, and Merasmus couldn't read but would know if he could. However, Reginald and Runt are now on the same floor as you. Whether or not they will be of any help is still to be determined, but hey, it is something.
Yeah. I could try to do another perception check.
Yeah, go ahead. Nothing amazing. You've already taken the chest from inside of here and brought it downstairs, so that is no longer actually there. Inspecting the woman's corpse, she seems to be like Longshank royalty or something. No idea what happened. Got stabbed in the side and bled out on the bed, is what you can assume as best as possible. The strewn about papers and such, yet again, you don't understand what any of the symbolism means, but they look like they were written. Yeah. The windows, you do recall, were impenetrable before, and a fully set up chess game remains on the table next to you, untouched.
It's interesting. So the windows are now like not open, but you can see through them.
Yeah, you could see through the windows the whole entire time, but when your potential attempts to break them earlier when Merasmus threw a chair at them did not bode well and resulted in a chair bouncing straight back at you. So you know that they are not going to break.
Take a brief look out of the window to see what's outside, because I'm not quite sure if I really remember if there's anything like beyond the river, the beyond the
moat.
Yeah, beyond the moat.
All right, so you approach the window, I gather, and look outside and see what you can, and yep, there's the moat down there, and the surrounding area seems to be barren of any foliage outside of the moat itself. And then you look beyond, and at some point, the horizon just sort of tapers into fog. That beyond that, you see nothing but white and gray.
Oh shit, that's... Oh boy. I'm not sure what else I could do at this point.
So all in all, your guys' goal at this point is still to basically get out of here, so that you can continue your main quest of helping out the dragon. But you haven't found any real solid leads as to what can let you get out of here.
Yeah. I guess I'll go back into the hallway, maybe perhaps join Zephyr in the other room.
Join Zephyr in the hall, yeah. So I will say, if you guys get super stuck and really want me to help you out, you can feel free to let me know. But for now, I'm just basically encouraging you all to try out your exploration and think of ideas and such.
I haven't been in this area, actually, so I would love to explore this area a bit, so...
Yeah, you never really went left from here, funnily enough.
Yeah, I never went left.
Just about the same image that you see. You see a busted door knocked down off its hinges, broken and like splintered wood, and tons of chests around the room, all completely and utterly looted. Seems like they didn't have to rush, so not a coin has been left behind.
Yeah, that is odd. Well, that is odd that they came. That they looted the chests prepared. Prepare the looting before the inevitable apocalypse. Oh, what is that?
That room is filled with cages and randomly assorted scrap cloth scattered about. All of the cages are empty, including the ones that are still shut.
And the cages inside of them have like cloths in them, right?
Nah, there's like some cloths and such scattered around on the floor. These little colors
okay.
here.
I was about to go because they felt like, oh, is this like a rapture? Just got teleported away and the clothes were left behind.
Yep. Run, back to you. What are you up to?
I've wandered into here.
'Tis a kitchen.
Food.
There are blue sausages, cabbage, and carrots.
You said blue sausages?
Yep, blue sausages.
Food.
By the way, real quick, would you still have your light spell on at this point?
Yeah, whenever they go down, I'd have them on.
I forgot to re-add it to you, so I need to do that. It's a 60 radius, right?
30 with an additional 30 dim, I think. Or 10. Or,
Okay.
Hold on. I can just do this. "20-foot radius and then a 20-foot dim."
All right, 20 foot 20, 20, 20. All right, the light has been applied to you. It should be easier to just see around now.
Sausage.
The sausage tastes like sausage. Nothing in particular happens. You did vaguely spot Zephyr eating some on her way out, so... At the least, you assumed if something does happen, you will be sharing the same fate.
We turned blue.
Dabba-dee-dabba-die.
Joke's on you. I'm already blue.
Turn a different shade, a shade of blue. Turn teal.
And not so bad.
Teal is considered heresy within your tribe. It's like the albino child. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Look, y'all gotta start thinking. I'm just gonna sit here and enjoy this awkwardness.
So, once we'll catch up and try to figure out what exactly the plan is. Because I just got together with y'all. What's going on?
Well, of course, we still have to get out of here and go get the remedy for my lord.
Right. Are we trying to get more torches, or what are we trying to do?
Well, the torches were useful for adjusting the time on those sundials below. I'm unsure what else we may be able to use them on. That may be of use. But there does appear to be some form of strangeness to this place, as is with many things in the time realm, of course, but it just feels like a story yet untold.
Yes, I do have a theory. about that. When we are in the sort of main hall area, when time was shifting, does anyone recall if the lizard men were ever seen coming in through the main door?
I think that's a resounding
No, as
no.
far as I can recall, the first thing I saw was the door having been open and the fight having begun.
Yes. And how many lizard folk were there? I believe there are like 4 to 6 cages here. My hypothesis is that
Are you are you suggesting that maybe some came to rescue captives?
potentially, or it was something of an inside job. Perhaps there was someone who did not look fondly upon other intelligent beings being held captive and released them, and then a sort of rebellion occurred.
Still had need of Longshank gold, apparently.
Yes, well, that is a byproduct of the current society, but either way.
A byproduct of panic.
Do you recall that the symbolage that they used on their, heraldry and such was of an older flag of the Brush civilization? This was not in use at any point in time when they were on our homeland, on our home continent. So that does beg the question, why are there lizard men here? Or a lizard man. We don't even know if there are any others. We've only found the one.
Perhaps this specific moment in time is not on Morgram. After all, we did enter into here through a hut and portal situation. So maybe it is merely a moment in time.
I have heard of such things happening in the plains here, but most people don't travel and talk too much about the plains of time. And there's very disparate stories with small visions and such. I don't have any detail to add, but it is a solid theory. What do you think, my goblin companion?
Hmm. Uh. Well, from my knowledge, I've never seen those kind of lizardkin in my swamps before.
Yes, their coating does not seem to be from this continent. Or
Can
at
we
least from
say
your
it's this
swampland.
continent if we're here, if we're not there?
But true, semantics, but I get your point. Exactly where we are, we would need more information. Did anyone happen to find any sort of documentation?
Documentation.
Yes, papers, notes, anything of writing that may be perused to find some information.
If I saw correctly, there was like, a symbol on a bunch of symbols on a thing in the adjacent room that I was in with Morasmus, but
Would be worth an
Unfortunate-
investigation.
Yes, I can take you there.
Yes, please. Lead the way.
Wondrous, my dear girl, wondrous. Please, yes, please, do lead the way.
I basically lead them to the now keep in mind, brace yourselves, there is a dead Longshanks on the bed.
What'd you do to her?
Nothing. She was there throughout mine and Morasmus's brief imprisonment.
It's going to take me a moment, but I'm going to look this over a little bit. Check the rest of the room, will you?
What's this?
It appears to be a map. Now, I don't know how much you feel Runt would know of cartography or maps in general.
Nope.
Nothing. Do you even know what a map is?
Nope.
It is a big square on the table where parts of it are blue and parts of it are green. It's like a painting or something.
Weird.
There are little weird, like, triangles and squares in, like, three-dimensional, like, blocks left on top of it in various positions, but they seem to have been scattered from where they were intended to be. Around you on the floor lie varying documents of some form, writings and such. Would you like to pick up any and give them a bit more of a closer inspection? Or
Sure.
just leave them be? Alright. You pick up what seem to be scattered forms of some sort, all of this in common. They are obviously all out of order, shuffled about. Putting them back into any semblance of a correct order, if there even is one, would take a little bit. But what you do gather is that these all seem to have very eloquently done signatures on many of the forms, along with what appears to be some form of wax seal to signify something. You're not sure what the Longshanks use this for. Some of the documents appear to be mundane topics, such as house, like castle finances and other such boring things. But a couple of them seem to be marked with some form of importance. And upon reading them a little bit further, you realize that these are some documented reports of warfare and battle reports from soldiers on the field. They discuss something going on in some other land that is currently under investigation, and claims of mishandling and other such things. Misappropriated funds? You're not sure.
I'm going. Well, that kind of rings some sort of bell. I'm gonna look and see if there is a name that's familiar to me.
None of them appear to show any form of reference to anything that seems familiar to you, at least on Morgram. Even scouring through them all very slowly, reading everything, it doesn't appear to give any indication of that. What you do read is that some form of exploration front sent to some continent, which they don't seem to name, instead referring to as a new world of sorts and everything. They just have numerous reports of it being a wasted effort and of claims of things like fighting back and leaving them, and so they have reportedly decided to abandon efforts for the time being until they can replenish their forces. There are also some acquisition logs of what they have encountered and claimed while they were on this new world of sorts. And some of it is not all too pleasant for you to read, because some of it documents acquisitions of personnel. And the way that this is phrased, you know this is involuntary.
Hmm.
They seem to show logs of measurements and details about some of them, and eventually perusing through these files, you find that there is mention of some form of reptilian humanoid that they seem to discuss vaguely, along with measurements and such that seem to line up with the corpse from below.
Looks like some of these lizard folks may have been acquisitioned by some various types of methods.
Now, Runt,
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to do a check for me to see if you pick up on something. It's going to be knowledge history.
I was going to see, because what I was mine real quick. I'll show you what I was trying to look for. I was trying to see if the lady, she player journal. Where's my journal? Uh, if Amelia or Stantrum was mentioned at all.
There was no such mention, actually. Neither of those were
Okay.
stated in any form. But this
History, you say?
this history check may break some light on that if you are successful. Oh yeah, it was DC 15. One thing you do notice is during some random times when you were out in Santrum and such, you happen to glimpse parts of some of the documentation. More specifically, you remember some pencil scribblings and such written down for record keeping when you got your new clothes. Some stuff for your tab when you were at the tavern there. And you do remember seeing what appeared to be a date of a form. And the dates that are printed on some of these go back a few hundred years.
Hmm. That's old.
And with that mention, the companion of yours, Harug, comes over to look at them, and he's just like, these are some of the documents we were looking for. What did you say was old?
Uh, from what I can tell, these are over 100 years.
May I see? So
Yes, I mean, in the paper.
He picks it up, looks it over, and his eyes sort of just widen a little bit. Oh, this was a very interesting historical era. I do not recall much about this, but I do know that they made their first contact with Morgram at this point. However, as some of these seem to, yes, as these seem to dictate, it was a failed attempt at establishing a hold on the mainland, especially considering they were currently at war with. Oh yes, this was shortly before the Saranian Wars broke out. But at this time, there was also. Oh, that would probably explain a good bit of what's going on here. I feel I may know what decided to raid this place. Uh, you would not know of them. They are another nation elsewhere. Well, nation is a very loose term. Numerous tribes that seem to not take very kindly to the folks of Brush in their history, and the intended to loot and plunder along the coastlines of the Brush mainland for a good chunk of time. They were portrayed as devils, but I'm pretty sure that was hyperbole. Would come out of nowhere, sack the monasteries, take all the money, leave no one alive. It is very on point for what happened to this place, it seems.
Hmm.
Considering they have the old iconography of the past Brosh, that does make sense. This was probably a coastal castle of some form, and they ran into these barbarians of a sort. I will peruse over these a little bit more. Don't mind me. I'm just thinking out loud. Starts to collect some of the rest of the sheets and actually rearranges the table to spread them out a little bit. I will let the silence stand.
I mean, I think.
Are,
Go ahead.
Yeah, like, do
Are
you
there-
have any questions of me or anything of the sort? Like, sorry, go ahead.
are there any areas that we have not yet explored?
No, it doesn't appear. Well, I mean, unless you talk about specific times, there may have been rooms that you've not been to in a certain time of this place, but other than that, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Uh, Considering the raid happened recently, some of the rooms were properly closed before they arrived in the past. Or at least the past of this location. Maybe do with that what you will.
I find it strange that we can't find any of kind of motions at the dead Longshanks. Any of the residents alive at any time.
Have you tried moving the torches
Is there
away?
some sort of
and
law?
Have you tried moving the torches away from when y'all were trying to get to a certain point in time? Or have you just put them at that time and left them?
We left the torches standing upright next to the appropriate times, or the appropriate positions to cast for. As of right now, the clocks read as 4.
Well, have you tried moving them away a time before 4?
It may be worth a try.
Do we have how many torches do we got?
There are the 2 remaining downstairs still in the main lobby, and I do believe you've found a couple more, Reginald?
Yes. With what is in the kitchen, there can be more that made. I believe I gave one to Morasmus, but something strange seemed to happen to him.
Yes, this place is full of mysteries.
Have we tried using unlit torches to light some?
Have you attempted to light other torches with that flame, Reginald?
Not necessarily. But it might be possible. It just there's the possibility that it will simply transfer and not make more. But
Well, I'm going to
should
try
do.
and organize these chronologically and see if I can rebuild what they had here of their records that was strewn about. I leave the rest to you for now.
Okay.
So what do y'all want to do?
Well, we're gonna try to light a torch.
Yeah. So we have 3. We need 2 more to make 3 more torches.
There's 2 more in the kitchen, unless Runt grabbed them.
I wasn't told about that until just now.
I can go to the kitchen then.
In total, you have 4 torches. That is the grand total, and assumedly Morasmus's torch was left behind in the forge when he seemed to vanish. Which some otherworldly
extra jiggly
force...
dimension.
Yes, some otherworldly force seems to force you to not worry too much about that for some reason. I don't know why. Totally not because the player is absent. But yeah, would you like to, see what you can do time traveling between some of the rooms again? Head back downstairs and experiment with the sundials?
Sure. That sounds like a plan.
Are you all
Alright.
tired?
I'm on board with that.
Well, I
have a
haven't
feeling
slept
that-
for it.
I'm letting them take the lead today.
And they ain't doing shit.
Runt is thoroughly lost as to what they're doing since he
You
wandered
weren't
off.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fester would gather some of the rest of the documents and sort of try to usher Harug out of the room. Yes, please, if you could read and walk, please.
Okay. Okay.
If we are to do experimentation, things end up being alive. Not be well if you were to sort of get caught in the crossfire.
I am decent in a fight, but I will take your word for it. I will be in the cage room if you need me. And with that, Harug walks out, leaving a couple of the documents left on the table, bringing most of them with him as he's attempting to reorganize them. The table has been turned upright. There is no chair in here anymore, where it's been tossed across the room at the other window and bounced off. You're unsure why anyone would do that. But
No, I meant. Never mind.
oh, you were just trying to have him scoot aside from where you were?
No,
He's
I was
trying to
kinda
have him with us in case
Yeah.
actually it does happen and people show up.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So he's staying in
him
the
with
same
the
room.
party.
I thought you were ushering him outside.
Trying to keep him with the party.
All right, so he's following along with you guys. He gets your point and subsequently does. And I gather you all head back down to the first floor.
Yep.
Yep. So you all come down in the hallway and find yourselves once again in the main chamber, the main foyer, or whatever it's called. You're not sure what these fancy Longshanks would have called it, but you come back inside. The two torches that you left are still in positions, pointing the shadow of the sundial towards 4. Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Sorry, just thinking.
I'm having a big think.
Everyone is thinking very much. All right, I'm going to stop bugging you about the silence because I gather you are just trying to put some thought into it. I'm just
Yeah.
concerned that nobody's going to say anything and that we will just stand here. But I know y'all are different kind of thinkers, so I will leave it be. But yeah, the same scene of death, the same corpses in the room, the same couple torches set in the positions for the 4 o'clock. That's about it. Nothing has changed since you've last been in here. There is still the chest of gold that you brought down earlier.
That's what now?
Oh yeah, they took the entire chest of gold out of that room that you were in on the 2nd floor and brought it downstairs.
Chest of, and it's actually just gold.
Yeah, so check the loot. It's the 5/7/2023, the first of those 2 posts.
Right, there's a dedicated loot channel list in there.
Yep, for the Morgram.
Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah, I'm just saying the chest is still hanging around.
It's still there.
All right, I guess we want to go and see how they do it.
Oh, okay. All right. So, see, he takes one of the torches. Reginald takes one of the torches by the one of the sundials, and I believe Chaise had one of the unlit torches.
I think so, yeah.
Well, if you don't mind, Ms. Longue,
Oh, yeah, I'm handing it over to him.
and he sort of touches the ends of the 2 torches together and see if it one lights or if it just transfers.
It does simply transfer from one torch to the other.
Yes. Unfortunate. Anyways, yes, I believe we can begin trying to go to other times beyond 4. Ms. Long or Runt, if either of you wish to assist me in this endeavor.
Sure, where are we going? When are we going?
Let's go to 2.
Alright, so you coordinate this as you were warned by Harug that doing them at separate times causes like psychic feedback. So you coordinate your timing and move the torches to change the time on the sundial from 4 to 2. And for a moment, nothing happens. you look about, and everything is as it was when it was still at 4. However, suddenly you feel... You don't physically move backwards, but you feel as though something is grabbing the inside of your stomach and pulling it backwards, straight. And after a moment of just getting yourself back together after the sudden lurching feeling, you see things start to rewind in motion and then speed up in its rewinding very quickly. The corpses on the ground near you slowly start to bleed less and less. The blood retracts, and then they slowly stand up, and then they're standing up super fast and going backwards in motion and time. And then at some point, eventually, when it looks basically like the past, everything stops and is silent for a moment. There's a ticking of time that seems to be like ethereally roaming in this entire area, just clocking in your ears. And after a moment, the doors below you swing open, but not physically. The image of them does. It appears to be some sort of spectral image, much like the specters of the past that you saw back when you were returning to Morgram after dealing with the rock many days ago. And these doors swing open, and coming in is a group of tall figures, angry, screaming, holding axes and spears and swords and all things of the sort, wearing leather armor and crude chest plates, banging through the front door with what appears to be a coarse battering ram of a sort. As the door splinters and falls apart, and they charge in. And with that, you see the specters of what appear to be servants or others in the area begin to scream and attempt to run as they are chased and chopped down and violently, and lead to the corpses that you recognized before you were earlier. They cut it through this area, and then they proceed to kick open the doors to the meal hall. And as you look inside the meal hall, there are specters of a royal figure sitting at the throne at the end, and everyone there having a meal of some form, happily, and all sorts of things. When you watch as the specters charge in, and some of the people at the table seem to stand up and just try to run towards the windows, but don't even make it in time before they're shot down with arrows. A couple of others, what appear to be guards of some sort, seem to pick up weapons, but too late, as they are chopped down before they can even move. However, one individual off in the corner over yonder seems to be able to pull out a sword in time just before one of the raiding party comes towards them. A strange figure wearing the hat that Runt now has, charging towards them, and they proceed to stab them through the stomach and rip the sword out aside as they attempt to face the other barbarians, but are quickly shot down by arrows and crash on the floor in the center of the room. This scene seems to happen in just an instant, as most fights do, but they proceed to trash the tables in the room looking for something, it seems, and then not finding it, they proceed out of this room and move towards the hallway to your right, and go off in the distance.
One's gonna follow.
You follow the spectral images.
Same.
The
Same.
spectral images charge with determination up the staircase to the second floor and proceed to hack down anyone who gets in their way, leaving corpses in the hallways. And they come in to what appears to be that hallway that you were in just above. They kick open the doors almost as if they were never locked in the first place. And it does appear that they charge in. You watch as one of them goes in and holding herself in a fear you see them run up to that one Longshank that was dead on the bed and stab them straight through the chest with a knife before promptly ignoring them as they bleed out on the bed and looting the room, flipping over the table, knocking aside what seemed to be a very well-organized form of, like, battle plan or something lying on that map table that was in the room, knocking aside the pieces representing this and that, and doing all these things. They attempt to open up the chest and then just sort of kick it, which in a sense was the wrong thing to do, as all of a sudden it causes a sudden jolt of magical feedback and sends the one who kicked it flying back into the door. But he is not dead. He is simply wounded, notably. Sort of like scuffs to the side, looks at the chest, mentions something in a foreign language, and walks out of the room again, this time joining his compatriots. The rest of the group charges down the hallway and into the separate rooms below. The first one they go into is the room with the cages, and inside you see the flickering images of numerous prisoners of a sort, of the same pale complexion that these specters of the invaders seem to have. They open up the cages either by looting keys off of corpses or by just simply bashing the locks until they break, and let them out as they promptly hand them crude weapons as well, and these new soldiers join the fray, charging out with them. And as they do, one of the prisoners, or ex-prisoners now, points at the door across the hall and says something in this strange foreign language yet again, as they all look over to the door and bash it open, revealing a room with a bounty full of gold and loot and magical items, and they all seem to, like, salivate at it as they begin shouting orders back and forth in some way, and people begin to take these things, coming in with these burlap sacks of some sort, and taking all the gold out themselves, and looting every single piece, as the rest of the party proceeds through the blacksmith and the kitchen. The blacksmith attempts to put up a fight, but even with the knowledge of all this combat happening below him, having heard everything, he still is somehow caught by surprise as they open up the door almost like a SWAT team clearing it, and come around the corner and fire a bow into his neck before pulling it out of his neck as he's bleeding on it and stabbing him numerous times with it over and over again in a very gruesome display. They proceed to kick open the door to the kitchen, find nobody in there, and then proceed yet further. And that's when, following them into the second floor hallway on the left side of that floor, you see what happened to this one room. I'm gonna just drag it all over real quick. You come over here following the specters as they proceed to loot through the building. Some of them proceed to be banging on the door just to the left of Chaise and eventually kick it open without breaking it off its hinges somehow. It doesn't seem to be as reinforced of a door. But just about as this happens, a strange explosion happens just to the left of them, and the pillars holding this room collapse in what must have been some catapult or something. And as that happens, and the sound and the crashing of it, all of it falls into the moat below, you hear yet more enraged screaming in this strange language. And one of the guys actually walks over to the point where the door used to be, leans out and screams out at something outside, and seems to do some form of vulgar gesture before coming back inside, and you hear something off in the distance, supposedly in the same language, but probably in some sort of also angry but semi-apologetic way. Seems to be a bit of a comical scene, all things considered, as they continue their looting, storm throughout the entire building, cut down everyone else in their path, and at this point, they leave. And at that point, in reality, you see the torches that you have set up and left there suddenly shake violently and snap out of position. They get scattered to the front of the room near the door, and the clock goes back to its 4 p.m. position, as that is the time you were in when you were still in this room. And all returns to normal. The specters fade.
Huh.
Amazing and vile.
Yeah, that was a wild experience.
Those were not men of brush. That language, I don't know the language, but that was not common.
Odd.
What were they looking for?
Well, considering that the room upstairs was looted completely of any and all gold, and none of these bodies have anything of value left on them, I'm assuming they were just raiding. But why would we be brought here? Then again, the realm of time doesn't necessarily have rhyme nor reason to what it does, as everything happens in due time. That sounded corny, I apologize.
One upstairs shouted back and forth to, I assume a kinsman outside the window.
He was looking out the broken, shattered doorway of a room they collapsed with a catapult. I am unsure what that was all about, but that tone that he took, even not knowing the language, sounded more of somebody berating someone rather than actual anger. Maybe they, pardon my undercommon, but fucked up a bit and hit the building unnecessarily.
That would make sense.
What is a cute way to put it here?
It would
Hmm.
seem that that is the only room that we have not been into.
Which room?
So the one that was collapsed, or the doorway
Yes.
was collapsed.
I believe we should set it back to the past and see what it was. It may not have any relevance, but maybe something to do at least.
Is that room? Do we know if that room inside's completely gone, or is it just blocked
Oh
off?
yeah, the entire room was collapsed with all of the supports for it falling below it. There were like mild rips in the other rooms, but there appeared to be some form of invisible like blockage wall over the hole where he leaned out for you. So it seemed that something or some essence of this place did not want you falling out of the building while you were here.
Hmm.
Shall we set it to the past and go investigate?
Of course.
Seems like a plan.
All right. I will meet you up there. Just need to make sure I have tokens for everyone up here, which I
Well,
don't.
someone
So
needs to help him put it in the past. So, or is he gonna follow us?
yeah, you guys know how to do it at this point. I'm not going to like ask you to give me the details of it and just assume that a couple of you do the job and then follow up with him. It's not something we have to linger on too much for that. It doesn't really serve much purpose. All right. You return upstairs to this room, and you come across the door opened, leading into another relatively tight location with multiple other doors that have also been opened. Out of character, Merasmus did check this room actually, but he didn't made no mention of it.
Is that last session?
Yes.
Hmm.
All right.
The hell are these?
You
Alrighty.
see some strange stone basins with holes in them, about, for you, about waist height, sitting above the ground on this side of the building. Across from it are some tubs filled with water.
The hell is this shit?
Let me see. Oh. This is, the castle bathroom, it appears.
Bathroom?
Yes, it is something that the, Longshanks use to, more... Since they make these, foreign and artificial structures, they do not have the luxury of relying upon nature to dispose of their waste as well as you might have, so they use this as a place to defecate and clean themselves.
Sounds like a waste of energy.
Yes, I assumed you would have that sentiment. I will neither agree nor disagree. Really depends on the context, but suffice to say, you probably do not want to stick your head in there. Seems a bit of a shit joke, if anything.
Oh, can we smell it? Is it like...
That's just some real garbage humor you got there.
Zephyr's like messing around knocking on a door, and it happens to sound like a classic drum snare after that.
But
And
oh
at
my
this,
god,
Harug
this
sort of just
place
shrugged his
stinks.
shoulder. Yep. It doesn't seem to be very much used at this point in time, but you are assuming that if before it got catapulted, it may have smelled much poorer. But with that in mind, Harug quickly loses interest in continuing to explore this place after very briefly stepping into the baths and checking to see if there's anything obvious still sitting in the water of any sort other than, water, and doesn't find anything. He proceeds out of the room and just sort of like thinks to himself a little bit as he leans against the wall.
I do. I sort of join him outside of the bath. I do have a couple more theories. One of them I don't quite like the idea of.
Oh? Do, share?
If we could find a time other than the ones we are in now that could stick, perhaps this event was not necessarily meant to occur as it did, and we may have to help the Longshanks. If that is possible.
is an idea, but I don't know how much power we have over changing time. You have taken some things from rooms and moved them about, and they've subsequently not appeared in the following times. Maybe if we get rid of what they were looking for in the past.
This may be a stretch, but what if we put some things by the door in the right position to trip them?
Set up a trap for them.
What if we move that chest in front of the door that they did to hit and made them fly back?
I will leave it to your ideas. I'm at an impasse here. I'm just reeling from all the historical details.
I was thinking of maybe can we actually go through the room?
Which room?
Oh wait.
It wasn't open for some reason. That's why you couldn't go through it. The door hadn't been opened.
Yeah, we can check out this area.
That door's stuck.
Door stuck, door stuck. But yeah. Go through here, check out these areas. It seemed like
This was where they had all the golden jewels of all sorts. There were some magical artifacts in there too that may have been useful.
Wait a minute. This room looks familiar. There's no dead body in here.
Oh, the blacksmith's before it was raided, yes.
Really in here that hasn't been looted?
Actually, oddly enough, the room as you see it for the blacksmith has less in it now than it did in the other times.
It's not gonna stop me.
You check about, there are some seeming ingots and whatnot of steel and other materials used for crafting such things, some strips of leather and such for wrapping handles, etc., all sorts of construction materials, but there are no fully assembled swords, axes, or anything of the sort on display at all. So it appears that he just has not gotten to work yet. I mean, arguably to the Longshanks, some of these are valuable, but they are heavy.
yeah. I wonder what's in.
The kitchen is not in disarray, and there doesn't appear to be any sack of flour. That is the only major detail you notice changed. So apparently the flour was brought in later on. Sort of
Huh.
inconsequential.
Maybe not as inconsequential as you.
Am I telling you not to worry about something, or am I trying to mislead you? Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Always questioning whether or not the GM is throwing a secret clue, or just bullshitting me.
That is the meme. But yeah, nothing else in the blacksmith seems to be of any note. There are unlit embers in the furnace and such, or unlit fuel in the furnace. Water quenching bay seems to be clear, fresh water, unpolluted by anything at this point, since just, natural dust and whatnot.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
I'm also sort of trying to do as Runt is doing and not have her just give you all the answers and DNPC the shit out of this. So
Oh wait, we can go through the thing. Yeah, everything is now in order.
Where's the
There
thing
is-
that kicked over and then got knocked back?
what was that?
The thing that the intruders kicked over and or was trying to mess with it got blown back.
Oh, the desk in front of you was completely and utterly flipped over and everything was scattered on the ground. And the table over to your right, during that whole entire Spectre scene, had what appeared to be like strange little cubes and triangles and whatnot in various places, but with actually some form of rhyme and reason to them that got scattered off the table. But what you do notice is that there are no such symbols on the map now.
Do you remember where those things were?
I don't recall the term. I would have to look into it a little bit, but I believe they were used by military parts of Longshank empires to designate battle formations and units on the field.
What if we did that in the past?
Well, it would help if we could find the symbols first. They don't appear to be here.
They in the desk?
Check about the desk, and after just a bit of rudimentary looking between the desk and some of the other containers in this room, you eventually find them actually stored in the little cabinet that is just under Chaise on the map right now. And you pull out what appear to be boxes of squares and triangles of varying colors. It's unlabeled. The box is unlabeled, and they are very crudely painted. It seems that looking pretty and decorative was not the point. It was to be practical.
Please do.
Here, let me show you. Let's assume that we are fighting. We both have a bunch of people fighting each other along this river. We may organize our lines like this to show that where we are initially set up. He just lines up some of the red squares on one side and some of the blue triangles on the other, and then just points at it and just like this line of red squares would represent one army and the blue triangles would represent another. And then using this, he pulls out a stick that was actually leaning against the map the whole time on the opposite end, but didn't seem to draw any attention because you were looking for the figures. He takes it and, much like you would expect a Napoleonic general, pushes some of the tokens to the side in one direction. We would be using this along with discussions of our plans to illustrate to commanders or troops what we were intending to do in this battle. Whether or not it would actually work would maybe change once the battle actually occurs, but planning like this was common in Longshank empires and still is to this day, though they may use other methods for doing so now.
No, what do we need to see how the table was set up beforehand. Maybe replicate it. Unless any of y'all remember.
All I remember is that they were scattered. We would have to very quickly get an image of it, watching that whole scene again, assuming we even can.
Worth a shot. Let's see here
Shall
in the
I-
room.
Shall I stay here while you go do that and try
We
and take
both
a picture of
could
it?
have The others go. That way, 2 heads better than 1.
Uh,
You
fair enough.
focus on the reds. I focus on the blues.
That works. Reginald, Chaise, could I ask you both to go adjust the time on those sundials to 2 again?
Okay.
Yes, of course.
And no,
Sure
no
thing.
real need to move yourselves out of the map because this is still a bit more theater of the mind for this. You both
Okay.
proceed downstairs and do as such very quickly. And the same sort of thing happens. At first, it seems like nothing is happening. And Runt upstairs, along with Zephyr and Harug, you look at this map, and then slowly you see the flickering in of the spectral shapes of these tokens on the table as displayed.
Zephyr will try to hover above just in case that gives any perspective on it.
You see what appears to be what looks like a very one-sided offensive against some form of force being like planned out here. The figure of the woman is just sitting behind you, lying on the bed, and in the background this whole entire scene yet again plays out. Eventually she hears the sounds of screaming and combat, and she starts to hold the sheets to herself in fear and hopes the doors hold. But as you continue to look at the map, you try to replicate the layout of all of these tokens in your current time. And Harug makes an attempt to put down one of the current red squares that you already have in your possession down on top of another red square. And it seems to stay. In just a moment, the image of the group bursting in through the door and knocking everything over occurs. But as they knock off all the tokens on the table, the ones that you set down in the present time do not change.
Hmm. Right. What if we can influence how? I'm curious now. What if we bar the doors? That way they can't enter the room.
It's worth a shot, at least.
We'll relay that, and we need to take the tables or get something heavy.
The entire scene plays out yet again, and once again the torches wiggle really hard and fly towards the front door of the main room, and you quickly put them back in the positions for noon before you proceed back upstairs, because if you don't, time will shift between every threshold yet again.
So move the things in front of the door didn't seem to do anything.
No, we're just reset to this. This is
Oh,
before
yeah.
you do that.
Yeah. Well. Can I message them? Do I wait? Let me check. See if I have a message. Why did my thing close?
Are you trying to do like a message spell?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't have that. Now we gotta wait for them to come back and then tell them to do it again.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that after a while of nobody showing up, Fester, you and Chaise go back upstairs.
Anything of note happened?
You do see that some of the tokens are still sitting on the table now, and are in some form of arrangement, though it is incomplete, as you didn't put all the pieces down last time, since it was sort of experimental. You'll have to do it one more time to put them down all in the proper places, but you're assuming you can just set the tokens where the projections are, and they'll stay.
Yeah, we'll do that. But also, when y'all leave, we're gonna block the door and try to see if that woman can be just put something in front of the door, you know? That makes sense.
Yes.
It's worth trying.
It's worth a try.
So we do a bit of a rinse and repeat, but as you do, Hrug, being not very good of upper body strength, focuses on placing the tokens down in the right spot really quickly, and assumedly either Runt or maybe you swap out with Chaise, who's a bit stronger, focuses on putting things in the right spot to block the doors, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was just gonna say we could swap out Run for Chaise, and Chaise could just like turn into an anvil.
Yeah, sure.
Let's chase. There's anvils.
Chaise has seen an anvil. There's one in the blacksmith's office down the hall.
Yeah. To be fair, this Brent does want to see if this works.
There is some time that you take. First off, barring the doors with your plan, whether you use physical items in the room or turn Chaise into an anvil to do so. But you block up the doorways here. Two of you proceed down, assumably Runt and Fester this time around, because once again, Zephyr cannot manipulate the torches very well with lack of hands. And Hrug stays by the map, and as the specters start up once again, and you've finished barring the doors before you even start this whole event, mind you, because you don't really necessarily need to be in the middle of the raid to be barring the doors. Or do you? But you bar the doors real quick, and Hrug puts the pieces down where they were on the table and begins to think about it as he's looking at it, the events proceeding, as they did before. And as you do all of this, it appears that when you put the blockades or whatever, I don't know what you exactly use, but whatnot, you move stuff to block the doors, and as they attempt to crash open the doors, in this time around, they are stopped and slowed, and the woman looks at the door with fear, but after a couple more bangs, she sort of collects herself, runs around, and uses a spell of some sort on the chest in the room that previously you had stolen, and opens it up, and with that, she pulls out something that you don't recognize having been in the chest at that time. When you stole it, and it was a strange scroll of a sort. With that, she shoves it quickly into some form of pocket within her dress, and looks over at the table, looks around, hears a crashing again as they try and break through and push back whatever they have. An arrow whizzes through a hole in the door made by some axes, and she realizes, yep, now is the time to dip. Runs up to the north and crashes through the window. A moment later, you hear the splashing of her being submerged in the moat. And with that, nothing else seems to happen of note. They eventually do break into the room. They do attempt to kick open the chest that she has reshut, and the same thing happens. And they mess around the rest of the scene as before, but it takes a while longer. And after that, the entire rest of the scene plays out, and the phantoms fade, and the torches are launched again. But as you come back to the current time, the window is not broken, but Hrug has placed all of the pieces on the table, and they've remained. And they paint a full picture of, at least rudimentarily, what you can see of a combat occurring. Hrug inspects the map, trying to figure out what landform this is, where this takes place. And it seems to be on the coast of Brosh somewhere. It seems to be like a regional map, not a world map of a sort. Looking at it, he inspects the battle lines, where everyone would be, and tries to make heads or tails of which one is which. But while he is doing that, do you have anything that you would like to discuss amongst yourselves?
All of this timey-wimey is all very confusing to me.
Zephyr would ask Harag, so did we just change the timeline then? Could she be alive, or if this is long enough back, have lived long enough to made a different impact on the world?
If this reflects in reality, then yes. It is yet to be seen whether or not this glimpse of the past is self-contained or not, as it could be. So my answer for you is I know no more than you do about that. I do know that it is a possibility, though, as you claim, and we will maybe find out when we return. But from what I am gathering of this was a planned defense of the... Yes, this was a planned defense of the homeland after a significant number of raids from these northerners claimed lives along the coast here. And the army had finally put together a full assault in response to them now trying to claim the mainland. So, Brosh is at war at this point.
And how did that war play out? You seem to have a lot of knowledge of history.
Yes, pardon me. The Northerners were eventually repelled, and while they did have a eventual cultural impact of sorts, they were sent back to their homeland overall after having raided numerous bits of wealth from the Brush homeland. This was also in a time of turmoil amongst the royalty, with varying claims to the throne, which helped nothing at all. It only all but got brought together when some noteworthy individuals, the then king of the realm, decided enough was enough and mounted enough of a comeback offensive against this that they, in the eyes of their opponents, proved their worthiness, even though there was still a good bit of scheming in spite of that. You know, politics are never clean.
Yeah, so I've seen of them. That holds true.
There
Ah,
were many notable nobles that lost their lives during all of this, though. So that may be related, because this would definitely be a noble's castle. Exactly whose must be related to the army in some form for them to have a map like this set up and be actively planning.
Maybe it wasn't just noble. Maybe it was commander.
It very well could be one of the higher army commanders, yes. Question then is, what caused them to be so unaware and caught by surprise as to this raid? I wouldn't know. Rug walks over to the door and walks back to the board and sort of just looks about in like sort of like pacing frustration with all of this. But then he looks out over at the window and he just sort of says, "We are still in the past. She did jump through that window, right? I didn't make that up in my head, right?"
I saw it too.
Yeah.
Mayhaps we set things to 4 and see if the window is broken. That would be a bit more evidence that something material has actually occurred. Does that sound fair to you?
It's about as good of a plan as any.
Next best step I can imagine.
So I assume you go about this. Some of you head downstairs and swap the clocks to 4 in this world. And subsequently, you come back to what is the present, but instead of having a corpse on the bed, you have a shattered window. And notably, a couple things shoved up against the door frames that have been kicked aside and battered.
Hmm.
We are finding mysteries and rewrite histories.
Yes, Morgram tales, I love it.
Woo!
Yes, she escaped through this window. Whether or not she was then subsequently captured by some of the raiders outside, I have no clue to what to tell you. Your guess is as good as mine.
I guess it's time to go look outside then.
Alas, the view outside has not changed too much beyond what it was before. And with that, you look outside, see the moat, see the barren land, and see once again the horizon fade into fog and disappear.
Hmm. Can we even leave now? Do we do what this thing's been asking for us?
I mean, he pushes his hand against where the window was and meets physical resistance. I don't think it is satisfied with us yet.
Hmm.
Runt,
Hmm.
do you have any sort of adhesive producing spells?
Mm,
Any things that make things sticky?
not today.
Well, gosh. Very well.
Not today, or not as in KNOT today. Not
Not today.
a spell that knots everything.
No, I don't have anything prepared like that.
If we could somehow, I of course deal in explosives. If we could maybe affix some sort of trap to the front door and simply blow the invaders up.
Well, we know this situation works out fine. What if we did that, but in the throne room?
It could possibly be easier, but we could run into a situation where it's like, oh, no one in the castle is supposed to die, and blah blah blah, and then I have to waste another explosive. I would just prefer for now try the front door, see if we can blow them up, and if that fixes it, then it fixes it, and if it does not, then I don't.
I think one thing worth considering, when we tried to barricade the door here, the only Longshank we knew of in this room was asleep and wouldn't have interfered with it in that time. If we tried to set something up in the main hall, would it potentially be enough time for one of the Longshanks to move it before the invaders came?
Yes, which is why I was hoping for an adhesive of some sort so that they could not move it. Of course, then they could be fiddling around with it and then also get caught in the fire. No.
Hmm.
Or we simply just, if Runt, you need time to prepare such a spell, what if we just simply glue the door shut? No explosives, no one can necessarily fiddle with it. They don't get in, potentially.
I don't think anything I have lasts that long, though.
Let's see if you could come up with any concoction based on any of the things we can find around at any of the times. Seems so long as you have something on your person, it does not fade away with change in time.
Mm, I mean, it's always worth a shot, but I don't know if gonna work out how we think it's gonna work out.
Things rarely do in the realm of time, so everything's worth a shot.
But give it a shot. Oh, we're halfway there.
Chase, are you okay?
I don't know. The temporal shift is making me sing songs from different timelines.
It's already getting the temporal sickness to her. We may want to hurry this up.
Temporal sickness? Is that?
I'm starting to hear things that are not part of this timeline.
You might know it otherwise colloquially as, well, you wouldn't know it colloquially, the time flu.
Is that what your master has?
Oh, his is much worse.
The chrono cough.
How did you know? Though in this case, for him,
lucky
it's
guess.
manifesting more as the chrono sneeze.
Chrono sneeze.
But shall we think of some of the other rooms and how we might adjust things properly?
Hmm. Did we try any other combination? Like maybe some. Have we? Like, is it possible to make different combinations with like different time? Like 4, 8, 8, 4.
It appeared when we were doing that before and they were not arranged properly with one another, it gave psychic feedback, so I would assume no. That was when they brought out, one of us brought out the torches and only adjusted one of the sundials, so it would have been one of those combinations you were thinking about. And it just hurt, to be frank.
Runt, do you have something up your collective sleeves?
Only thing that would have I need at least a day to get ready.
All right.
Yes. But all things considered, give you guys a bit of time to think about some stuff, as we should call it for today, because I have other things I need to do as well, and it seems that Runt has to get along to something. So, you've at
Okay.
least gotten a bit further along, about the direction that you feel you should be going. So, let's see if you can follow that up next session. See you in a couple
Yeah.
weeks.
Excellent. I have a potentially completely complete dud of an idea, but potentially really bizarre idea I want to try.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, trying to go
can-
for the convoluted plans.
hmm
Definitely something you can check out next time. But thank you everyone for joining us. I hope you've had a lovely one. I apologize that it's been a bit shorter, but we all have other things that are interfering at the moment, so it is to be expected sometimes. Take care.